Good morning. It's now about 6:45 on Thursday. It's very gray and overcast this morning, but I'm still gonna get outside for a few minutes, get some natural light into my eyes. Probably said it a million times, but morning sunlight, even on a cloudy day like this, is so beneficial for circadian rhythm and for so many other functions of our bodies, like on a cellular level. So I try to get out for 5 to 10 minutes every morning, get that light into my eyes. Then I'm gonna do a little bit of an active recovery workout this morning. I did a full body strength training session yesterday, and then I also had a massage yesterday. So I'm a little bit stiff and sore this morning. Want to get moving, get the blood flow going. And I know that some gentle movement will be the best thing to feel a little better and have to shake off some of this soreness. And then this afternoon, I have my fourth and hopefully final oral surgeon consultation to talk about the cyst I have near my right sinus that likely needs to be removed or somehow dealt with. If you've been following along, I have already seen 3 oral surgeons who have given me somewhat similar but also a little bit different ideas on what the best course of action would be. So I haven't felt fully confident that I knew what I wanted to do or knew which person I wanted to go with. And then my friend recommended that I see this other person that she knew who is also a well-known oral surgeon in the area. So we'll be having that appointment later today and hopefully kind of figuring out what my next step is with that. Before I head down to the gym, I'm going to get hydrated as usual. Every morning I have my hydration drink. Today it will also serve as kind of a pre-workout fuel. So in here I have electrolytes, aminos, creatine, and collagen, and then also some coconut water. So it's very hydrating with the electrolytes and the coconut water. And then there's a little bit of protein and carbs in there as well. And because I'm just doing a pretty easy active recovery, low level cardio workout today, that will be plenty to get me through my workout. If I were doing a strength training session, I would definitely eat something else as well, to have a little more fuel to get through my workout. But I'm gonna drink this, take my first morning supplements, which includes vitamin C, which I take with this drink specifically because it will help with the absorption of the collagen that is in here. And then also I'll take B12 and vitamin D every morning, and then we'll get down to the gym. Taking a computer break to have lunch, and this meal is still going strong. This is often something that I have for a pretty quick and easy lunch, but with a lot of nutrients. So I have kind of a chicken salad-ish thing here with pickled onions, microgreens, and this Primal Kitchen buffalo sauce, which is really good. I'll have that in these lettuce wraps. I have a hard-boiled egg for a little extra protein, avocado for healthy fats, and then for carbs I have a piece of gluten-free bread and an apple. So hitting all my macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats, and a lot of micronutrients as well, fiber in the veggies and fruit and everything, and a good amount of variety overall. Also, I've been thinking that sometime soon I want to do a week or 2 of tracking my macros. I haven't tracked food in a very, very long time. It is something I have done just like occasionally here and there, just to basically check in on, am I getting the macronutrients that I want? Am I hitting my protein goals? Stuff like that. But it's been a really long time, and I feel like now there are a lot of much more effective or like easy to use apps and ways to track your meals and kind of find out your macronutrient and micronutrient profile, if you will, without having to like log everything manually in something like MyFitnessPal or whatever. And I do feel like I know pretty well what I need and how to hit certain targets, but I would be curious to see like how much fiber am I getting, or are there any like specific micronutrients where I might have some gaps or something like that. So planning to do a little macro tracking experiment soon, and we'll definitely document that as well. Just arrived at the oral surgeon's office for my consultation. I'm a little bit nervous, I think, because I'm realizing that after this appointment, I'm really gonna have to make a decision on what I'm doing. I think I know I'm gonna have to have some kind of surgery on this at some point, probably sooner than later, and I would sort of prefer to just get it done and not have this on my mind anymore. And this will be my 4th consultation with an oral surgeon. Like I said, I haven't been super confident with the other 3, or didn't really find somebody that I felt like I really wanted to move forward with. So I'm really hoping that this person feels like a good fit and like somebody that I can really trust to do whatever needs to be done. And also with the last 2 people that I saw, there was a little bit of a difference of opinion on how to go about the procedures, like whether to do a biopsy first or just basically remove the cyst and do a biopsy after, kind of do everything in one procedure. So I'm curious to see what this surgeon says about that, or like what his process would be. But I think it's just felt like this has been a really long process of getting different opinions and trying to figure out what the next step is. And I've kind of wrapped my head around the fact that I'm gonna have to have a surgery to get rid of this or deal with it in one way or another. And now I'm just hoping that I can find somebody that I feel really confident in and really comfortable making that decision to actually schedule the next steps. Okay, just finished my appointment. I thought it went quite well. I think as usual, it's kind of a lot to process in the moment. It wasn't like really new information, I would say. It's kind of a very similar idea or plan of what I have heard before, what I was expecting, but obviously from different person, and just kind of like getting the whole vibe of the office and the clinic and just whether I feel comfortable with the people and the surgeon and everything, which I did. I really liked everybody throughout the process, but it's still just kind of wrapping my head around specifically what his plan was and what the next steps are. And I also need to get on a phone call right now, so I think I'm gonna take a little time, maybe the rest of today, process everything, kind of sleep on it, and then I will check back tomorrow and do a little more in-depth recap. I recently ordered some curtains to go on this bed. So these ones were actually ones that I found at TJ Maxx in the clearance section. They were like $9 or something. And I just wanted to see what they looked like, or kind of like what the sizing was, and if I liked the color and everything. And then I found some on Etsy where I could order custom sizes, and got 2 for the ends and then 2 for each side. So I don't know how long it's gonna take to get those, but I'm excited to see how that turns out.
Splice Original.
Good morning, happy Friday. It's about 7:30 now. Gotten outside for some morning sunlight, got hydrated, did a little foam rolling and warm up in front of my red light. Also used my little mini trampoline as part of my warm up, good for lymphatic drainage and just kind of a good full body and like cardiovascular warm up. Now I'm ready to head down to the gym and get a strength training session in this morning. I'm going to have this protein bar as my post-workout, I guess, breakfast, although I did eat something before my workout as well to make sure I had a little bit of protein and carbs in me. But I'm going to have this, a couple of Brazil nuts for the selenium, and then got to get out the door to a chiropractor appointment. Just leaving the chiropractor, and my aunt and uncle are in town for a couple of weeks. They actually live in France, but they come and visit here usually like once or twice a year. And we're actually going to go for a walk around the lake, which will be a nice way to catch up because I haven't seen them in a really long time. Friday afternoon sauna session and figured this would be a good time to do a quick recap of my oral surgeon consultation yesterday. So the good news was that I felt like this clinic and like the whole staff, kind of the whole experience was the best that I've had out of all the surgeons that I've seen. I felt really comfortable there. I felt like even, like the front desk staff and the nurse that I talked to before the surgeon came in, everybody seemed like they were really working as a team and communicating well and were on top of things, and nothing felt like stressful or rushed. It just was a nice setting and a nice vibe in the clinic. The interesting thing was that when the surgeon was looking at my scans, at first he actually said that he would recommend I go to an ENT and basically have an ENT just clear out my sinuses, that both sinuses were pretty blocked with fluid, which he said was a very normal and just sort of unfortunate side effect of having something like a jaw surgery, and that basically an ENT would like go in through my nose and endoscopically remove whatever stuff is in there. So he didn't think that I actually had a cyst, which on the one hand is like kind of nice to hear that. Also, again, a little confusing because I've had two of the surgeons like pretty emphatically agree that it was a cyst, which is what the original radiology report said, but obviously they're just sort of looking at scans without a lot of context and giving objective data on that. And then when I'm going to these surgeons, they're getting a lot more information because they've got stuff from my orthodontist and notes from my jaw surgery and all of that. Anyway, so the more we talked about it and kind of like how an ENT would go about doing the surgery versus how an oral surgeon would, he then did kind of say like it might be a little better to have the surgery done from inside my mouth and like kind of go at it through the incisions where I'd had my jaw surgery, just because he said it would be easier to really remove everything that way than from going in through the nose. At the same time, he did say it might be worth consulting with an ENT just to kind of see what they say, or I don't know, I guess get like a fifth opinion. And he also was saying that they would do both sides. Like, yes, the right side is worse, like it has more fluid built up, but the left side, or the left sinus, is also showing signs of the same thing. And so he was suggesting that like if you're going to do the one side, you should just do the other side as well, so that it doesn't become more of a problem in the future. Which that was actually one question that I asked, was kind of like, okay, so if you go in there and you drain this fluid or whatever, like what prevents that from just happening again? And he did say that that is a possibility. And I believe he said that like if it were something that became recurrent, that was when I might also need to see an ENT, because they could like open up part of the sinus that has closed off, I think, from the healing of the surgery. I might be misremembering exactly what he said about that, but basically the idea was that it is possible that this could happen again and have to be remedied somehow again in the future, which is kind of a bummer. But at the same time, he was pretty low key about everything. So like it sounded like it was not that big of a deal, and just like, yeah, kind of unfortunate but very common occurrence after something like jaw surgery to have this happen, and we just need to drain that fluid out. And yes, we would send it off for a biopsy just to make sure there's nothing going on in there, but very likely nothing serious, etc., etc. So I think on the one hand, I felt kind of relieved, just because it felt like this was not going to be that big of a deal, or like he felt pretty confident that there wasn't a cyst there and it's just like normal fluid buildup that can happen. I think on the other hand, it is still like a little bit confusing to me to have now had these 4 different surgeons and kind of have various opinions on what is going on. The other thing I will say though, we actually ended up doing an updated scan when I was there, because I have a copy of my previous scan, which I think I did in November, but it wasn't able to, like they couldn't load it on their computer. So doing this repeat scan now, what, like almost 6 months later, I suppose it's possible that have developed a little bit more. Maybe like it's more clear what is going on now versus from the scan several months ago. Maybe that's why he has a little bit of a different opinion on that. So long story short, I did schedule, kind of tentatively scheduled surgery, because they were booking out a couple of months, so I couldn't schedule something until the beginning of August. So I just wanted to have something on the schedule, and now I do still have some time to, if I want to do an ENT consultation or, you know, any other investigation of this, I can. But at the very least, I have something on my calendar to finally deal with it if that ends up being the way I want to go. So I think what I might do is I might try to get in touch with the ENT that did my deviated septum surgery. So I had deviated septum surgery, I think it was in 2012, obviously like way before jaw surgery or any of that was even like a consideration. But I felt like I had a really good surgeon, and I could take this scan to her and see what she thinks. It might be interesting to have the perspective of somebody who's not specifically an oral surgeon. The one other thing that I kind of realized, I didn't think of this until it was too late in the day to call them yesterday and ask, but I left them a message this morning, the surgeon's office that I saw yesterday, because my question was kind of like, if he thinks it's just fluid buildup, but I do actually have like kind of a lump along my gum line that I can feel on this right side that's a little bit squishy, sort of gross, but like it feels like there's something in there. It's not on the left side, it's only on the right side. And so I did ask them, like, would that be indication that there's something else going on here, like a cyst, or is that just a result of this fluid buildup, and like that could still happen where I would like feel it kind of coming through my gums like that. So they were going to ask the surgeon. I just was basically leaving a message with the nurses, and they said he would get back to me. So we'll see if he's able to call me back or answer that question by the end of the day today. That was just kind of one thing I wanted to be like, are we really sure there's not a cyst here, and like maybe a little more complicated than just draining this fluid. So we'll see what he says about that. But at least for the time being, I have something on my schedule so I don't have to like keep putting off that step. And then since I do have like, I don't know, at least 6 weeks before that's going to happen, if I want to do any further investigation, I can. And like I said, I might try to get an ENT consult if I can do that relatively easily. But yeah, that's kind of the summary of yesterday's consultation. And that's good timing because it is time for me to get out of the sauna. Good morning. It is now 10 o'clock on Saturday, and I'm about to head over to the farmer's market for the first time this year. It's actually been open for a few weeks now, but I haven't made it over there yet. And honestly, being in Minnesota, there's not a lot to get at the farmer's market this early, but I think now they're starting to get a little bit more produce and variety in, so want to stop by there, see what I can find. Might also need to stop at the grocery store on the way home, depending on how much I can get at the farmer's market. And then I also need to go to the post office at some point to mail a few packages, so I might also do that on my way home, or that might get put off until later today. Well, as expected, there was not a lot at the farmer's market, although there were a lot of people there. It was a very busy place this morning. But I did get some lettuce and some eggs. I always love when I can get eggs from the farmer's market. I feel like they're just better. And I just realized that I have a couple books to pick up from the library, which is right on my way home. So I'm gonna stop and get those. I have a little bird bath out on my deck, and every morning there's little birds that come take a drink, take a little bath, and they're so cute. It's just before 10 o'clock now on Sunday, and I'm actually gonna head over to meet my parents and my aunt and uncle to hang out for a little bit. We're actually meeting over at the cemetery, which sounds kind of weird, but there is this really big, lovely cemetery that's like 10 minutes away from here. And it's just a really pretty outdoor space. There's lots of places that you can sit outside, and it's very quiet and peaceful and just kind of a nice place to hang out, honestly. So we're all gonna meet over there, just sit outside for a bit. It's super nice out. It's a little windy, but it's like very nice and cool, and maybe like 60 something degrees and blue sky. So it'll be nice to get a little family time this morning. It is later on Sunday afternoon. I just got back from a walk with a friend and I'm about to get in the sauna. I think this is actually my 5th time in the sauna this week, which is more than I usually do. I usually aim to do 4 sessions in the sauna if I can. I mean, I think ideally I could be doing it every day for detoxification purposes and specifically to help with heavy metals detoxification. It would be safe and effective for me to do it every day, but it is a bit time consuming, and from my understanding, like 4 times a week is sort of the minimum effective dose to get a whole bunch of benefits from sauna. So I aim for 4 times a week. This time I got 5, but I'm gonna end off this video here and actually starting next video tomorrow because I am meeting with my doctor tomorrow. We are following up from the last appointment I had where we implemented a couple of things, and we're also kind of checking in on a few other things that we had started to put into motion but need to check in on or kind of like see where things are at and move forward. We did some blood work last time I was there as well, so I'll be going over lab results, a medication that I had taken previously and then taken a break from, and then we decided to reintroduce that last time but increase the dose, so I've been doing that for the last few weeks, and just a couple other things we're gonna touch base on. That will be kicking off next week's video, and thank you very much as always for watching, and I will see you next week.